How would I go about fixing your favorite team? What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here to fix every NFL team for the upcoming 2023 season with an off-season plan. That means free agency, that means the draft, addressing all your needs, and the ultimate goal is to make your favorite team more competitive this year and have a plan of attack for the future. If that sounds good, don't forget to Gronk spike the like button and let me know your opinion of my plan for your favorite team in the comments section below. I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. The goal is a minute for each team. Let's give it a try. Fixing the Arizona Cardinals, it has to start by protecting Kyler Murray for the future. This is a rebuilding team, so you're looking to build the offensive and defensive lines. Hernandez would be nice to have back. I'd look to sign a free agent tackle, a young one, maybe like Andre Dillard. Nate Davis, I think, is a great fit for the offensive line as well at guard. On the defensive side of the football, Zach Allen would be nice to have back, but I think they got to go edge rusher, edge rusher, edge rusher. Busboy's mock draft has them going Will Anderson or Jalen Carter in the draft. I would agree with both. They need a dominant pass rusher for Jonathan Gannon's scheme. They also need to look to add to corner. Murphy's a free agent. They could use him back at nickel or outside. On top of that, they need to sign a backup quarterback, somebody like Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew. One of those would be awesome just for the short term. And then trade DeAndre Hopkins, get some assets back. Look to rebuild your offensive and defensive lines and go from there. That is what this team needs. Fixing the Atlanta Falcons all begins with the quarterback position. Lamar Jackson would be the target. Going from Michael Vick, number 7, to Lamar Jackson, number 8. I mean, it's just too good to pass up. Plus, it fits the scheme perfectly. Arthur Smith, that's a match made in heaven. The offensive line would be next. Caleb McGarry's got to be back. Got to re-sign him. Elijah Wilkinson would be nice as well, but you don't need him. You need pass rushers. That's what you need. Marcus Davenport from the Saints for this new scheme would be ideal. Look out for a guy like Caden Ellis at linebacker. Definitely could upgrade at linebacker. Safety needs an upgrade. Both players. I think Jesse Bates, this could be a team that goes after him, but you need better safeties. Maybe a Donovan Wilson, somebody like that. In the draft, Busboy sees Tyree Wilson or the best pass rusher available. I agree. Need to get better pass rushing. Need somebody to help Grady Jarrett. And the offense, just get a better quarterback, please. Please. That's how you fix the Atlanta Falcons this offseason. Fixing the Baltimore Ravens all begins with just please sign Lamar Jackson. Like, please. He's your franchise quarterback. After that, go into free agency and sign a receiver. Juju or Jacoby Myers, maybe Adam Thielen. Those are the ideal targets for me. And then wide receiver in the first round. Busboy projects Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers. I like Zay Flowers a lot in that inside running routes for Lamar Jackson. He needs that. He's best throwing the ball in the middle of the field. Offensive line is already pretty good, but you could use a swing tackle behind Ronnie Stanley. I really think getting somebody like George Fant would be ideal. Maybe like a Kelvin Beachum, but somebody that can back him up because he always gets hurt. Justin Houston needs to be back for the pass rush. Marcus Peters, I'd love to have him back. If you can't get him, look to the draft in the middle rounds to add some depth to cornerback. Maybe look to a Rockyason or a Murphy or a Sean Murphy Bunting, somebody in free agency to replace him. Fixing the Buffalo Bills is all about fixing the supporting cast for Josh Allen, and it begins in the first round where they could maybe pick up the best guard in the draft, according to Busboy, with Torrance at the end of the first round. From there, you're looking to free agency. I really like Nate Davis. I really like Powers from Baltimore. You could also go with Dalton Reisner. There's a bunch of guards in free agency that could upgrade the interior to allow more time for Josh Allen. Then you're looking to wide receiver 2, where maybe you make a swing for OBJ. Maybe you make a swing for Brandon Cooks via trade. You gotta go big because Stephon Diggs needs help. Defensively, Edmonds needs a replacement. Maybe a veteran like Wagner or David could be possible. The secondary, I think you're okay at safety, but Poyer's gonna leave, so go young there potentially and add some depth. They also need a pass rusher. Maybe Yannick Ngakoue is a solution to get some sacks. A running back as well. Kareem Hunt, I love as a fit for the Buffalo Bills. Panther fans, we're not that far from fixing your team because you've already traded for the first overall pick, which means that we've checked off the first thing. You need a franchise quarterback, and you're going to get the best opportunity to get one. Bryce Young is the target for Busboy. Personally, I lean towards CJ Stroud. I just have my worries about Bryce Young's size personally, but I haven't fully scouted either one yet, but I lean towards Stroud as of right now. After that, you got to get him some weapons because DJ Moore is gone and you don't even have great receivers or tight ends. Mike Gesicki is a great option for this offense at tight end. I really like Jacoby Myers to potentially unlock that rookie quarterback from the slot. Maybe a veteran like Adam Thielen or another guy like DJ Chark to stretch the field. And then on the offensive line, you got to re-sign Bozeman. In the backfield, you got to re-sign Foreman to have that power running game to complement the rookie quarterback. Defensively, you need an option for Brian Burns on the opposite side with Leonard Floyd, and a nickel corner would be nice. Maybe somebody like Cam Sutton from the Steelers. Fixing the Chicago Bears is going to be a lot of fun because now you have so many picks, which means more opportunity, more avenues to go down. You got the receivers. DJ Moore is now in the building. Offensive line is next for Justin Fields. Tackle with that 9th overall pick is the way to go. Skoronski might be the best in the draft. Center, maybe Ethan Pocic. I think he's a perfect fit from Cleveland. You could also go with a McGarry or a McGlinchey in free agency if you want to go that route through free agency. Defensive line, Frank Clark is an ideal fit. I also like Poona Ford a lot. Javon Hargrave if you want to go big. And then linebacker, I like Okereke. I also like Jermaine Pratt a lot, maybe Leighton Vander Esch. Cornerback, maybe you could solve in the middle rounds of the draft again, but you could also go with the veteran as well. Who knows? Chicago's got so many different ways that they could potentially go here. It's not about fixing the Cincinnati Bengals. It's about making them the Super Bowl champions. That's what it's about. And it begins with eliminating distraction. Cut Joe Mixon, sign a veteran running back like Damian Harris or Kareem Hunt, maybe David Montgomery. Then maybe the draft for a running back. But Samaje Perine got to be back for familiarity purposes. The offensive line needs an upgrade, maybe at guard, but definitely at right tackle, depending on that situation. The draft is probably the best place to go, but there are solutions like Caleb McGarry in free agency that I like. And then defensively, Jermaine Pratt needs to be back. One of the safeties, Jesse Bates or Von Bell. I think Von Bell is more affordable. Hill can replace Bates, in my opinion. You got to trade for a corner. I think Jalen Ramsey or Darius Slay could be big-time additions to a championship team. And you get Awuzie back as the number 2. I love what this team has going for them. I think in the draft, first round, Forbes at corner if you don't get Ramsey or Slay. Kincaid at tight end. I just like Hayden Hurst, man. I feel like this team should go with the best player available late in that first round. As the Brownies GM, the number one thing I'm trying to do is make this defense competent. I'm trying to make this defense legit. And I can do that for Schwartz by giving him a defensive line. So I'm looking at the interior guys, somebody like Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Zach Allen. There's a lot of solutions out there. Dalvin Tomlinson if I want a big run stuffer. Maybe a little bit more low-key A'Shawn Robinson. But I'm trying to load up on the defensive line in free agency. I'm looking to go with some low-key guys on the edge like Arden Key or a Menahue or maybe Samson Epicam. Somebody that can fit the system. Not Jadeveon Clowney. I need depth. And then probably more D-line in the draft, maybe a center in the draft to pair with Froholt if Pocic gets a better contract elsewhere. And then secondary, Juan Thornhill I like Jabril Peppers to come back to the Browns, actually. I feel like the linebacker position, maybe like a Zach Cunningham, or if I want to spend more money, David Long. I think there's different ways you can go. Anthony Walker coming back would also be a solution there. I think the Browns just need to go all out for this defense. That means big money on the defensive line and then low-key free agents at the other levels of the defense. And then offensively, I don't have to do a lot. You just got to hope Deshaun Watson comes through. The Dallas Cowboys got to stop fooling around. They have to actually get better instead of staying the same. Wide receiver 2 is where you can get better. Brandon Cooks, Odell Beckham Jr., those are the targets for the Dallas Cowboys. Bring one of those guys in to complement CeeDee Lamb and to help Dak Prescott. Then figure out Zeke. Try to restructure him, try to lower that cap, and try to allow that to help your defense. Matt Ioannidis, Morgan Fox, Greg Gaines, Somebody in the interior defensive line could help. And then linebacker, I want Bobby Wagner or Levante David. I want a smart veteran, and then you can deploy Parsons more as a pass rusher and take some pressure off of him. Re-sign Donovan Wilson at safety. And in the draft, I would just look to continue to add to your strength of the offensive and defensive lines. Maybe Miles Murphy in that late first round. Also, swing tackle George Fant would be nice. Maybe somebody like Cameron Fleming, bring him back. But I like where Dallas is at, and they have a chance to get better. The Denver Broncos are cleaning house. Now they have a ton of cap space. They've released a bunch of players, and now Sean Payton can work with a lot of money to fix a lot of issues. I think it all begins with the offensive line, protecting Russell Wilson, opening up the running game, and that's how you get a better Russell Wilson. And I think that's how Sean Payton is thinking. Maybe they opened up some cap space to re-sign Dalton Reisner. Maybe they want to sign a Nate Davis or a Powers in free agency, or potentially a Samalu in free agency at guard. I think that's where they need to go. They could also go with a right tackle. Jawan Taylor is a solution. McGarry, or maybe even, I don't know, Isaiah Wynn, but like they need to go with offensive line because they don't have a first round pick. They could use offensive line on the interior also in like the mid rounds. That's usually where you can find some diamonds in the rough at that position. Defensive line, Draymond Jones, they might want to re-sign him, but if they don't, Zach Allen could be a good solution. There's also Saints guys out there like David Onyemata that I like. Marcus Davenport's out there, but I don't think they really need an edge rusher. I think they could use a cornerback. There are some decent corners, but if they want to make a big splash, they could go after Jalen Ramsey or Darius Slay. I think there's a lot of possibilities, and there's also Cardinals players that may want to play for Vance Joseph. So I think the Broncos got a lot of players out there that will intrigue them, and now they have a lot of money to spend. But offensive line, defensive line is the way they're going to attack. If the Detroit Lions want to be a playoff team this year, it all begins with the defense, fixing the damn defense. In the first round, Christian Gonzalez, cornerback, best one in the draft. That could help you a ton. You could also go with the pass rusher there or later on, but Brian Breeze could help you fix your run defense issue. Maybe David Onyemata, a veteran on the interior as well. Linebackers where I want to spend a bit of money. Maybe Levante David. Maybe that voice that's won before, a championship pedigree. Maybe Jermaine Pratt, a younger guy. Tremaine Edmonds, a younger guy. Elliott, bring him back at safety. Maybe you go with like Adrian Amos, somebody to that degree. Not a huge money guy. Maybe Chauncey Gardner-Johnson if you want to go big. Rocky Sin at corner. And then offensively, I'd look for tight end. Maybe Hayden Hurst. Maybe Foster Moreau, or maybe just go to the draft. There's a lot of good ones there as well. Lions are in good shape as long as they can hit on their defensive pickups. Fixing the Green Bay Packers is all about moving on to a new era. The love affair must begin. And you want to support Jordan Love with the best possible team offensively and defensively. Get him some weapons. Maybe that's Michael Mayer in the first round. Maybe that's a wide receiver in the first round. Jordan Addison, somebody like that. Maybe you go through free agency and pick up like a Jacoby Myers, or you trade for somebody like a veteran like Brandon Cooks, or pick up Odell Beckham Jr. Who knows? But you need weapons for sure to complement Christian Watson. On defense, an interior defensive lineman, a veteran like Larry Ogunjobi would be nice. I think you're good at linebacker. Safety, Adrian Amos needs to be replaced with a younger player probably in the draft. You're going to have multiple first-round picks, so you could look to add one after you trade Aaron Rodgers. And a third edge rusher would be nice. Maybe like Arden Key or Charles Omenihu, or potentially a Samson Ebukam, somebody like that. I think the Packers are in good shape, but they got to support their young quarterback if they're going to go that direction. The Houston Texans are still in their rebuilding phase, but this could be the year they land their quarterback. Whether it's CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, I think that's the look with the second overall pick. Their next first round pick, it could be a receiver, but they just signed Robert Woods, which makes me believe it's going to be a defensive lineman. DeMeco Ryans needs a four-man rush. There's not a ton of great ones in free agency. I think they go with a pass rusher in the first round. From there, I believe that they need to solidify the offensive line with a center. Jake Brendel from the Niners makes a lot of sense. Maybe Jones from the Titans. He's a bit older, but he's a very good player. And then you could go with maybe Jimmy Ward or Al-Shahir or Samson Ebukam or Arden Key or Charles Omenihu. Notice a trend here, all 49er players, but all effective in D'Amico Ryan's defense. I think this offseason is about building his defense, finding your quarterback, and then next year will be about, okay, let's support that quarterback with a ton of weapons. I think they're going to spend big time money on linebacker too. Don't be surprised if they bring in a Tremaine Edmonds or a big name linebacker from free agency. Fixing the Indianapolis Colts is actually surprisingly not that complicated considering how bad they were last year. The coaching switch was already huge, but I believe they need a quarterback. I mean, they need the most important position. Anthony Richardson early in the draft is going to be their pick, I believe, because it's a lot like Jalen Hurts, and Shane Steichen had a lot of success with Jalen Hurts. He's super athletic, has a ton of potential. He might be the best quarterback when it's all said and done in this draft class because of his athleticism, and they can use him in the run game with this big offensive line. They could address right guard through free agency if they like, but I don't see them putting that much money into guard. I think that also comes through the draft. A third wide receiver, maybe they bring back Paris Campbell. That could also come through the draft. This team overall is going to spend a lot in the draft because they're in a weird spot. They're in a transition. Defensively is where I see them spending some money. Taylor Rapp at safety, some box safety. Donovan Wilson could be another solution. Edge could also be like Charles Omenihu, Arden Key. Not major money, but like a nice number 2 to complement Kwity Paye. The Colts are looking decent. For the Jacksonville Jags, it's all about going from pretty good to really good. And how you do that is by addressing your major weaknesses. The interior offensive line is the first one. I think supporting Trevor Lawrence with a premier guard from free agency, whether that's Powers, Samalu from Philadelphia, who Peterson drafted, or that's maybe Hernandez, a little bit mid-tier, but better and improvement. Maybe they go center with Jones from the Titans, a rival. Defensively, I think they're definitely going to go corner in the draft. I could see them going with Ringo in the draft, Forbes in the draft, but they're definitely going to go corner in the draft, the opposite side of Campbell. Safety, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in somebody like Mike Edwards, who worked in Mike Caldwell's defense before, or maybe even corner Sean Murphy-Bunting. They could also utilize a running back partner for ETN, but that could come in the draft. Maybe a power back. Maybe they swing for the fences through free agency with a Foreman or something like that. But I think Jacksonville's looking real good, and they need a couple things to put them over the top. The Super Bowl champs are once again trying to be the Super Bowl champs, and if they want to repeat, they have to address the tackle position. Both of their tackles from the Super Bowl are free agents, Wiley and Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown would be a much greater loss. I think if he leaves, Isaiah Wynn, Jawan Taylor could be solutions in free agency, or the draft first or second round is possible. Andy Reid's really good at scouting offensive linemen. Defensively, edge rusher opposite George Karlaftis. Obviously, Frank Clark is gone, so they're going to have to address that. I love the Yannick Ngakoue fit. I also feel like Zadarius Smith could be a solution there. If they're not going to go tackle in the first round, I could see them going wide receiver or edge as well. Foskey, Downs, 2 possible picks for the champs. Linebacker, they're good. Safety, Juan Thornhill might be leaving, but they've already got a couple in play. At corner, don't be surprised if they swing for a big name like Jalen Ramsey via trade. Wide receiver, weapons. I know they like Kadarius Toney, but Juju's going to be gone. Maybe they look for Odell Beckham Jr. But I could see a lot of veterans coming to Kansas City this offseason because they had such a great draft last year that upgrading with veterans would be a nice way to go. The LA Chargers are trying to bolt up from pretenders to contenders. So how they do that is fixing their run defense first. I know that a lot of people think they could spend another high priority pick on the offensive line like Broderick Jones in the first round. That's what Busboy believes at right tackle. And I could see that, but I think they need to fix this interior defensive line. So I could see them going with a big defensive lineman in that first round. Maybe going with one in free agency, like a Sheldon Rankins is a possibility for me, or a fit. If you aren't going to draft a right tackle, you got to make sure that you do re-sign Pipkins, though. You have to. Linebacker, Drew Tranquil, got to have him back. Got to have him back. I think Bryce Callahan's going to leave, but you're already good at corner. I think bringing in somebody like John Johnson, familiarity with the system at safety would be nice. And then any edge depth that you can find. Offensively, bring in speed receiver and power running back. Damian Harris is a great one for the running back to complement Austin Eckler or even a draft pick. And then wide receiver, maybe DJ Chark or a draft pick. Again, like the Chargers aren't that far away, but just tweaking this roster would go a long way. Rebuilding and fixing the LA Rams is not going to be a one-off season deal. This is a team that's just beginning to rebuild, and I respect it. They won their Super Bowl. They realize they need to rebuild now, and it makes perfect sense. And they're going to rebuild from the defensive and offensive lines on their way up to getting back to the top. And I believe offensive line is where they begin. I think they might sign and spend some money there on like Dalton Reisner, or Nate Davis, or Hernandez at guard, maybe a Pochich at center, maybe a Bradbury at center, Isaiah Wynn at tackle, also McGarry or McGlinchey. But offensive line is going to be, I think, the priority to protect Stafford and be competent on offense. And then wide receiver, I think they could draft in like the mid rounds. I also think secondary, if they trade Jalen Ramsey, they're going to take some shots for guys like maybe with some upside, Sean Murphy Bunting, guys like that. Safety position, younger players. I'd like to have Taylor Rapp back. Also like to have one of Gaines or Robinson back, but I think the Rams are going to be pretty low-key this offseason. If the Las Vegas Raiders want to be more respectable in 2023, they have to improve on defense. And I don't see them drafting a quarterback early in the first round. Busboy thinks so. He thinks Will Levis. I think they're going to go corner, Gonzalez. I think they're going to go best pass rusher available, maybe even offensive line with a right tackle or something. I could see that happening. The Raiders are patient. Jared Stidham, Jimmy Garoppolo, that might be the answer for 2023, and then 2024, they might find their quarterback officially. But they're good on offense, man. Maybe a guard later in the draft, but nothing crazy. Defensively, they're going to spend all their money. Linebacker Tremaine Edmonds could be a possible fit. Leighton Vander Esch, another possible fit. I think corner, safety, all possibilities here. Rocky Sin could be back. I think Andrew Billings could be back. And Denzel Perryman could be back, all re-signs, but I could also see them going with Jamel Dean at cornerback. I could see them potentially trading for Jalen Ramsey. I could see them going with a big D-tackle like Hargrave. I could see all those things happening for the Raiders. If I was your GM, Miami fans, Tua-non, whatever you're calling yourselves nowadays, I'd honestly have not continued this Tua thing. I know he was great last year, but I would have been all in on Lamar. He wants to play in Miami. He would be the perfect fit for Mike McDaniel, but I know you're not going to go that way. So what I would do now is try to find a right tackle. I'd pay Caleb McGarry, Mike McGlinchey, whoever I could at right tackle to come in and protect Tua. And then also I'd probably need to back that up with a George Fant, a swing tackle of quality, because Teron Armstead is not going to stay healthy. On the other side, I'd look for a corner too and a nickel, but that could come in the draft. I think finding a corner like Bryce Callahan to play nickel would be very nice. Troy Hill is another solution. One of those has to be a veteran and not just a younger player. Jordan Poyer wants to play in Miami. I'd look to bring him in as well. I'd look to be adding veterans to kind of fill the rest of this roster out as you're trying to compete in a very competitive AFC. Running back, Raheem Mostert needs to be back. Jeff Wilson would like to have back, but you could also go rookie too. If I'm the Vikings GM, I understand that I was extremely lucky last year to make the playoffs, and what I need to do is address this defense because it's putrid. We already fixed the defensive coach with Brian Flores, so I need to give him the pieces to be successful. I need to go after cornerbacks that can play man coverage, Jonathan Jones, a guy like Jamel Dean. Maybe I trade for Jalen Ramsey, who knows, but I need corners that can play man press. Rocky Sin's a low-key option. I like William Jackson's another option. Corner, defensive line, bring back Dalvin Tomlinson, maybe draft in the first round. Busboy likes Cansey in the first round as an interior defensive lineman. I like it. Edge rusher, if we're going to let go of Zadarius Smith, that's going to hurt. I'm going to need maybe an athletic guy like an Arden Key off the edge to get to the quarterback off stunts and blitzes and things of that nature. Offensively, I need to replace center, but probably in the draft. And if I'm going with a high priority pick in the draft, on offense, it's going to be wide receiver. I'm trying to pair one up with Justin Jefferson, but if I'm going with a veteran, I do love Jacoby Myers next to Justin Jefferson to work the short intermediate levels while he works the deep level. If I'm the Pats GM, I'm going all in for a number one wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins would be my pick. Give a second round pick to the Cardinals. I do not care. Get Mac Jones, an alpha wide receiver. If you somehow can't get Hopkins or any other number one that may be out there, Odell Beckham Jr. or Brandon Cooks or other guys that I would love to have, because then you can use that first round pick on Jones or some sort of right tackle. And then I'm looking to re-sign Jonathan Jones at corner, and then I'm still pretty good at cornerback. I'm not too worried, but then I could still look into the market for Jamel Dean or for Rock Ya-Sin, a man press corner. And then linebacker, I'm going Tremaine Edmonds, athletic, or Jermaine Pratt. And then I'm just looking for depth everywhere else. Defensive line, cornerback, tight end, wide receiver, doesn't matter. Running back, it doesn't matter. Just wide receiver, right tackle, linebacker, corner. That's all I need. It's really tricky to be the GM for the Saints because only the Saints know what they want to do because they're an old roster and they want to maintain relevance. So I'm trying to really make this Derek Carr investment work. So I'm trying to bring in a wide receiver like DJ Chark. Maybe I'm looking at Odell. I'm looking at someone big at wide receiver, especially if Michael Thomas is unreliable. Maybe someone like Nelson Aguilar who has chemistry with Derek Carr. Not a big name, but low key. Running back, I'm looking for a backup, David Montgomery, maybe the LSU legend Leonard Fournette to complement Alvin Kamara if he's still going to be around. The offensive line's good. Defensively, you're trying to keep that defensive line together. So I'm trying to re-sign David Onyemata. I'm trying to probably get a rookie in at defensive end, like Luke Van Ness is Busboy's pick to replace Marcus Davenport. I need depth there. And then linebacker Caden Ellis, bring him back. Safeties, corners are good, but I think big time receiver, edge rusher, and anything else that can help Derek Carr is the way I'm going. If I'm the New York Giants GM, I'm trying to build off of last year. And the way I can do that is supporting Danny Dimes and this new freshly minted contract. So I'm getting a wide receiver and I'm calling up Odell Beckham Jr. and seeing if he wants to come home. If that doesn't work out, I'm maybe trading for DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm also looking at Brandon Cooks. I'm looking at one big receiver. I need one. Jacoby Myers is another option through free agency. The draft could also be an avenue that I go. Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, that could be a possibility in the first round. And then offensive line probably deeper in the draft, but I'm looking at defense and free agency. I think David Long or Tremaine Edmonds needs to be signed at linebacker. This team desperately needs a linebacker. I'm also looking at bringing in Marcus Peters or William Jackson, a man coverage corner for Don Martindale, and I'm re-signing Julian Love for sure. And I just think the Giants need to upgrade what they already have to have a chance to be as good as they were, or if not better than last year. As the New York Jets GM, it all begins with Aaron Rodgers. If I get Aaron Rodgers, perfect. I got my quarterback. Now I got to support him with an offensive line. Connor McGovern at center is going to be re-signed. Then at right tackle, I'm probably spending money on Mike McGlinchey or Caleb McGarry. And if not, I'm drafting one in the first round, possibly Anton Harrison. And then defensively, I need an edge rusher. So I'm probably looking at the 49ers, the Seahawks. Maybe I look at Frank Clark, Robert Saleh. That could work. And then maybe I like Samson Ebukam or Charles Omenihu or Arden Key, somebody like that in that mold. And maybe I'm calling up Bobby Wagner as Robert Saleh to bring in to go alongside CJ Mosley. If not, probably drafting a linebacker later. But I don't need much on defense, just depth. And wide receiver depth would be nice. Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, somebody familiar with Aaron Rodgers that can make him comfortable would be nice. But offensive line, quarterback, if no Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo would be my guy. Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia front office have a lot of questions to answer, and it's going to be very difficult because they have to pick and choose their guys. And I think that all begins with Javon Hargrave up front. I'm doing everything I can to keep Javon Hargrave. If I can't keep Javon Hargrave, man, I'm going to be upset. Fletcher Cox, you can go, man. I love you, but you can go. I need Javon Hargrave in there. Everyone else is back, even Brandon Graham. Then we got CJ Gardner-Johnson, who I have to have back. Like, if I can't have him back, I'm going to be super upset. So those are the two main guys I got to re-sign. Everything in my power. Samalu, you can leave. We've got replacements. Offensively, we're good. Miles Sanders, bye-bye. I need those two players. Everyone else I don't care about. Linebacker, we're going to go with high upside options like maybe Devin Bush, a younger guy, or maybe Deion Jones, somebody that is coming off a down year, but we can replenish them. Then corners, I'm going for young players. First round, safety or corner's my look. I'm going for athletic. I'm going for speed. I'm going for man coverage because we couldn't play it last year. Brian Branch could be a solution there late in the first round, but Darius Slay, leave. I need man coverage corners. That's how I'm going to upgrade this team. The Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the trickier teams to figure out because I feel like they're close, but they're also not that close. But I'm looking at the offensive and defensive lines. The offensive line is intact, but we could use upgrades at the tackle position. So I'm certainly giving that thought in free agency and high in the draft. I would maybe look to sign somebody that won't break the bank, like Isaiah Wynn at the tackle position, and then maybe the first or second round for tackle. But cornerback could be another position I spend on the first round. I mean, Joey Porter would just be too cool, and we don't really have a true #1 corner. Cam Sutton, I have to sign back as the nickel. He was just too good and too consistent for me. Interior defensive line, I need to upgrade. I'm getting Ogunjobi back if I can. Alualu can go. I'm probably replenishing that position with mid-round draft picks. And then linebacker, I'm signing somebody like Leighton Vander Esch to go alongside Miles Jack and upgrade over Devin Bush. But overall, I think tackle, corner, linebacker, and then safety, replacing Terrell Edmunds if he doesn't come back, would be the way I go. Oh, the San Francisco 49ers, the team that has a very good roster, but so many questions at quarterback. And you know how I feel about this position. I would be all in for Lamar or Aaron Rodgers if I really could, if I'm the 49ers, because I don't trust the future of this position with Trey Lance or Brock Purdy. I just don't. Now, I lean towards Brock Purdy if he's healthy, but I don't know that information because I'm not in the building. If there's a veteran out there that I can get, if Tom Brady doesn't want to come back, please, Tom, come back. Matt Ryan would probably be the guy, honestly, for me, and because it's not going to be Jimmy. And quarterback's the biggest thing, but defensive line and offensive line are huge. I think they're going to have to replenish offensive line through the draft. Defensive line, I think they may sign a big player like Jadeveon Clowney, Frank Clark, someone to that degree on the edge to complement Nick Bosa. And then secondary, I'm looking to bring back Mosley and probably Gibson as well. I think most of the Niners team building is going to be done with the load of draft picks they've got because of all the coaches they've lost. So I could see a lot of their depth on their offensive and defensive lines coming from the draft and just taking swings at those players. Oh, baby. I would be excited to be the Seattle Seahawks GM with all the draft picks you have, 2 firsts, 2 seconds. I'm going pass rusher early. I think the Seattle Seahawks could get Carter or Anderson, whichever one is not picked, whatever their preference is there. They could also go corner later in the first round. They could go interior defensive line later in the first round for sure. They could go Javon Hargrave in free agency and go big. They could re-sign Poona Ford if they want to go that way. They have so many different options for this Seahawks team. I also like Byron Jones if he's coming back as a fit. I like Jamel Dean if they want to go younger at corner as a fit as well. I also think you got to knock on the door of Bobby Wagner, but I like Drew Tranquil as a linebacker. Then offensively, you got to go offensive line. Interior, Hernandez is a solution. Also, maybe Pochich, come back. Why not? I like that as well. Jones from the Titans could be a good center for you, but I'm going all in with this Seahawks team. I'm spending money and I'm spending capital. Oh boy, it's going to be tough to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office. You went from Tom Brady to the bottom of the barrel. First and foremost, you got to figure out quarterback. If that's Kyle Trask, that's fine. Maybe you're just looking to lose next year. That's cool, but I'd like Jacoby Brissett or Gardner Minshew. I think those are options for Tampa Bay. And then offensively, I'm really just trying to bring in a left tackle. So probably drafting one early, whether that's the first or second round. The receiver position's good. I'm keeping Mike Evans. He's a legend of the team. Chris Godwin, same thing. I got Russell Gage, which maybe I'll look to trade him to try to relieve some cap space. Defensively, we've got to rebuild. Secondary could be the first round pick. I think Banks, Deontay Banks could be one of the picks. An athletic man coverage type of corner, speed. Jamel Dean's going to leave. So Sean Murphy-Bunting's got to come back. I can't leave 2 of my top 3 corners out there in free agency for other teams to take. Mike Edwards, I'd also like to have back. Maybe try to put him back at free safety instead of in the box this year. Jabril Peppers, Terrell Edmunds, those type of guys in free agency would be nice replacements for the safety position. Linebacker, of course, Levante David's going to be gone, so I need probably just younger 26, 27-year-old defensive linemen, linebackers that I'm just taking 1-year contracts on and trying to rebuild this team from the ground up until we get our quarterback. Honestly, I really like what the Titans have been doing so far. moving some cap, cutting some older players, trying to replenish this team. And I think they're going to do that through the draft primarily. In the first round, I think they are going to strike with a tackle or some sort of offensive lineman. I'd expect that to be somebody like Paris Johnson, or maybe they go wide receiver, but they just spent a first round pick on wide receiver with Treylon Burks to replace A.J. Brown, so I don't see that happening. I think offensive line is going to be their priority, so I think Nate Davis will be back if they can help it. Defensively, they don't need a lot, honestly. They just need to maybe get David Long back. If not, they need to look to add a new linebacker. Maybe defensive line, they could use some depth there. DeMarcus Walker, it'd be nice to have him back. But I feel like this is a team that is stuck because I think they're in transition and they're not going to be spending a ton of money. So they're going to be looking for one-year contract players, and they're going to be looking to add rookies from the draft and building from there and seeing what really hits. So Derrick Henry could be on the move. That can open up more cap space for them. That would suck, but that's probably what's going to take place, honestly, for this Tennessee Titans team. And that's probably the right way to go if you're the Titans. Young free agents and draft picks. And last but certainly not least, it feels like the most slept on team at this point every offseason is the Washington Commanders, but especially this year because they don't have a quarterback. But if they do get a quarterback, I do think they're going to be dangerous. Remember, they got Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator, and they've got a lot of weapons and a lot of speed offensively, and they don't need a lot. I feel like the offensive line's in a decent position. Right guard could use an upgrade. There's a few guards in free agency. You could steal one from Philadelphia, Samalu. There's Hernandez. There's Nate Davis. There's Powers. There's some really good ones in free agency if you want to take a look there. There's also Elijah Wilkinson, who I like from Atlanta. And then you've got defensively, probably defensive line, like depth upgrades, like pass rushers, like Dante Fowler types, Charles Omenihu, Arden Keys, guys that can support the chases and the pains with a layer of attack, because Jack Del Rio's playing those front four guys way too much. And then the secondary, first round, you're probably going corner. Like Porter is a guy that I'd maybe look at, or Witherspoon's another. Corners are also available in free agency, right? So Jamel Dean is out there. I think they could maybe go after him. Linebacker is another position they could go after. There's quite a few like Jermaine Pratt, TJ Edwards, guys like that I think fit this system quite well. Washington is a few pieces away from being really good, but most importantly, quarterback. So that guy, maybe Jimmy G. I don't know. That is what I would do if I was your GM. Trying to explain that in about a minute or so was extremely difficult and very stressful. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a great experiment for me. And let me know if you have any opinions or questions for Mitch, the GM. Thanks for watching. Gronk, spike the like button and enjoy NFL free agency. Peace.